Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Meet the Expert. I'm Daniel, and I always know the train platform before it's announced.
And I'm Craig, and I've visited 83 cities in the last 10 years.
Today, it's your chance to meet experts from Scotland's world-renowned travel and tourism sector. You're going to hear about what they've been working on, and you're going to get to ask the questions that you want answered to find out more about this really interesting area.
So whether it's attracting visitors or making our heritage and attractions more accessible, or just helping people get from place to place, travel and tourism is a really important part of Scotland's economy.
According to the Scottish Government, there are over 14,000 tourism-related companies in Scotland. These are things like tourist attractions, tour guides, bus companies, restaurants, hotels, and airlines. To stay competitive and to attract more people, companies are having to try new things, and it's really important to identify trends and to adapt.
And that's why employers in the travel and tourism sector are calling out for people with tech skills. And in the future, they're going to be needing even more of these people with these skills. So when it comes to a career in tourism, there are opportunities for everyone.
Today we're going to be speaking to Joshua and Fiona about what it takes to work in this exciting area. But before we speak to the two of them, what we're going to do is we're going to say hello to a lot of you that are tuning in and sending in your questions.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of you already sending in your questions to be answered. So just a quick hello to some of the schools that I can see have joined us. Hello to our Growth Academy. Thanks for taking part today. And then we go down to Denny High School. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Hello to a bunch of schools from Dumfries and Galloway Council. Thank you. Big shout out to Dumfries and Galloway Council there. Falkirk High School, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I can see some schools from Glasgow City Council. Thanks for taking part today. We've also got a bunch of careers advisors from Skills Development Scotland. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. What else have we got, Daniel?
Yeah, we've got a few more schools. We've got Hillside School, you are tuning in to in Aberdeenshire. Hello, thank you. We have schools from across Stirling Council. We have got the James Young High School joining and other schools from West Lothian too. Hello, thank you for joining us. We have some international viewers, Craig. We've got some schools watching from California. Good morning to you. And we've got another school in Dumfries and Galloway, St Joseph's College, are also registered and sending in some questions.
We've got a couple of universities and colleges as well taking part today, Daniel. I can see Glasgow Clyde College, thanks for taking part, and the University of Edinburgh as well. Thank you for those watching from there as well. Now, this is about getting your questions answered. So if you haven't done so already, you can send us in your questions. So what you need to do is you need to go to the URL that's at the bottom of the screen here. You can scan the QR code, and it is tinyurl.com/asktravel. If you send us in your question, we'll do our best, and you tell us like what school you're at, what your name is, we'll do our best to get that answered for you as part of the chat this afternoon.
Yeah, we've had quite a few come in, but keep sending them. The more, the merrier. Teachers and adults, if you'd like, you can tweet us. Let us know how you and your group are getting on. I always like to see photos of your groups taking part in watching the session. If you'd like to tweet us, you can send us a tweet at Digital World HQ. The handle will appear sometimes in the bottom left side of the screen, so keep an eye out for that, but it's at Digital World HQ. There it is. So, okay, Craig, I think we could bring on our first guest now, and our first guest is Joshua. Let's get started.
Hello, Joshua, and welcome to our Meet the Expert session. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us a bit about what is your job? What is it that you do in the travel and tourism sector?
Yeah, so I am the director of something called Travel Tech for Scotland. And what we are is basically a group or a community of technology businesses that work in tourism, the travel industry, and hospitality, so restaurants, hotels, and visitor attractions. So what we try and do is try to help those technology companies grow or find new business or innovate with new types of technology.
Brilliant. So you're the perfect person to join us this afternoon to talk about tech and travel then. So let's fill out your travel profile. So we ask this to all our guests. So Joshua, what is your favourite mode of transport?
Yeah, so my favourite mode of transport is train travel, so rail, partially because I can't drive. It's more sustainable, but I think there's something romantic about it. So I've spent a lot of time on trains up and down the country, so that's my favourite.
And Scotland's definitely got some of the best rail routes and options as well. I love travelling by trains in Scotland as well. Okay, so your next question is, do you have any secret travel hacks? So is there certain apps or websites or habits or gadgets that you have? Go on, tell us.
Yeah, so I do have one, and I think it is when you're booking a hotel or you're booking a place to stay, try to go directly to that hotel, because sometimes you can get a little bit of a better deal, a little bit cheaper, and they might even throw in an extra goodie like a chocolate on your pillow. So that's my travel hack.
And is that because, like, when you think of these aggregator sites, you know, the ones that try lots of different places, I thought that they used to give you a better deal, but from what you're saying, it sounds as if the hotels are maybe trying to be more competitive now.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I mean, if you buy from one of these aggregator sites like we are talking about, a bit of the money from that purchase goes to that aggregator site. And that's great, and they do a great job. But especially if you're booking somewhere in Scotland, it's nice to go directly to the family-run business that's going to keep a little bit more of your money and hopefully provide even a more personal experience.
Great. And I've got one more question for your travel profile. So, is there anywhere that you visited as a teenager that you would love to go back to?
I'm from a town called Grimsby in England, which I love, but is not particularly pretty. And I was very fortunate that my dad used to take me on little trips around Europe to different cities. So there's many places that I'd love to go back to. But if I have to pick one, it's probably Lisbon. So Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, is a beautiful city, beautiful boulevard, great food. And also, it's got a growing technology scene, so it's a good place for me to learn from.
Brilliant. Maybe a work trip there soon then, Joshua. You can return. That's great. Daniel, you've got some questions, and some questions have been sent in as well.
Yeah, so this session today is all about the travel and tourism sector, but also how that kind of combines a bit with tech. So, Joshua, I think you've kind of already answered this question, but Cameron at Denny High School has asked, do you like your job? I can sense the enthusiasm through the screen, but maybe it's good to get an explicit answer.
I love my job, and I love the travel and tourism industry. I think, when I was growing up and getting to go on holiday, it's the thing that you remember. It changes the way you think about places, you experience new things. We're in Scotland, which is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I love that industry. So I very much enjoy it and would encourage everyone to be part of the travel and tourism industry.
That's great. So we've had a couple of questions about what it is that you do sort of day to day, like what did you do? But maybe like what does a typical day look for you, or like what did you do yesterday, Joshua?
Yeah, so my job is often helping these companies that are either trying to use technology or helping technology companies get better or do more innovative things. So my job is perhaps a little bit peculiar when you think about travel technology. But to give you a sense of some of the sorts of companies that I would consider travel tech, in Scotland, the biggest one is Skyscanner. So Skyscanner, which is aggregating flights, trying to find you the cheapest or best route to where you're going to want to go. And they were founded in Scotland and grew in Scotland. So a lot of the work we might be doing with them is trying to connect them with universities to try and use some new bits of technology that's been generated in the lab, or help them try and find perhaps people on this call, people who might be working for them in the future in technology roles. Other parts of my job might be working with smaller companies, maybe even startups. So a few startups that I would think about would be one that I know called Electric Explorer, who are trying to map out Scotland and beyond with electric vehicle charging locations. So in the future, when hopefully many of us will be using electric vehicles or rail, it's easier for us to make journeys, tourist journeys, in a carbon-friendly vehicle. So what we'd help them do is try and find money to keep on running, or try and help them find new business. So that's kind of my day to day. And what did I do yesterday? Well, I brought about 20 of these companies from Scotland and about another 20 from Catalonia, Barcelona, together. And we were talking about the potential of generative AI in tourism and travel. So that is things which you may have heard, like ChatGPT, where you can create text by asking it a question, it'll come out with something, or DALL-E, where it creates images from artificial intelligence. And we were saying, well, what does this do for tourism? And that could be things like you ask it, what are the top 10 things to do in Edinburgh? And it might tell you an interesting list of things to do. Or it could be, generate a picture of my perfect destination, that sort of thing. So we were trying to help companies think creatively about the use of new and exciting technologies and how it can help tourists and visitors when they come to Scotland or go from Scotland to somewhere else.
I love the idea of just having an AI decide what you do when you go on holiday. Like, I think that might be a really fun experiment. Just be like, okay, tomorrow I'm just going to ask it, and I'm just going to go to the places it recommends and see what it suggests. I wouldn't know, like does it tend to suggest like really popular places, Joshua, or is it tend to be more obscure things that it finds?
Well, that's a really good question. It's still early days. It's still early days in terms of the use of this sort of generative recommendation. But also, when I go on holiday, I tend to go with friends or I tend to go with my family. And what I like to do is quite different to what my wife likes to do. It's certainly different to what my daughter likes to do. And it's not yet, none of these systems are yet really good at being able to come up with an itinerary that suits all of our wants. So that's going to be an interesting area of development. And what you just said is right. The best things I enjoy about a holiday is when I get to discover something, or there's a serendipitous moment, a moment where I found something unusual or a place that perhaps not many people have been able to go to. So these sort of generative recommendations or tours or whatever, they might just pick some of the standard things, which is great, and the standard things can be really brilliant, but often you need to be a little bit more playful about coming up with your own itinerary.
When I'm on holiday and trips, there's an AI on my phone for the photos, and what it does is, like, if I've taken a bunch of photos, it then tries to turn it into a little holiday video for me, which, you know, you would maybe do in the past. But what I did find last time I did it had all these great shots of, you know, the scenic background, and then it was like my hotel room key card appeared in the middle of it just because I'd taken a picture to remember it. So, you know, there's always room to make this tech better as well, and maybe not these stunning beaches followed by, you know, an out of focus blurry shot of a bit of plastic.
For me, it's always
really...
menus. Menus of places I want to go back to.
Yeah, well, there was some work done at the University of Bristol where they were researching what are the types of photos from our holiday snaps that actually get the most engagement on social media that then lead to people to book a hotel. And the types of photos are of bathrooms. So everyone wants a nice bathroom when you go to a hotel.
I can believe that.
There's a
Daniel,
question
we've got time
here
for maybe a couple. Yeah,
maybe one or two more questions. There's a question here from Abigail, who's at Hillside Primary. And Abigail's asked, what apps do you use as a tourist? So that's kind of close to what we've just been discussing here. Is there maybe one or two apps that you find really helpful?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the apps I like to use, if you go to, so I live in Edinburgh, so when I go to Edinburgh, if you were to have a look on the App Store, there's so many, and it's really hard to choose. So my first bit of advice is try and find the one that has been endorsed by either the local council or by Visit Scotland or any of the destination organisations. So a place that is responsible for helping that tourism run. Now, an app that I like to use is a really good one that has been produced by a Scottish company called Whereverly, and the app is in the islands and Highlands, and you can bag different islands and all the different things to do, and you can cross off things that you've done once you're there. They have also produced the app for Falkirk, and they've produced the app for Stirling, and also the North Coast 500. So I like to go to Whereverly and pick out their sort of destination apps. There's a couple more that I really like. I really like Culture Trip, which is a London-based company. And what they do is they usually have like the top 10 unusual things to do or the top 5 interesting places to visit. I think that's a really good one. Another Electric Explorer, which I talked about before. I think that's a great little app. Often, though, what I do, and honestly, is I sometimes just go on Google Maps. I'll do my research, maybe on Culture Trip or on Reveille's apps or others, and then I just tag each of the places I want to visit, put them into my own sort of itinerary, and then I'll share it with my friends or family who are going with me. So, yeah, there's quite a few.
Brilliant. I need to watch this back and take notes, I think, of some of these apps. They sound great. So we're going to be back for more questions with you soon, Joshua. So keep sending them in if you have more questions. But Joshua, you can let us know that that's who they're for. Yep, that's where the QR code is. Craig is
where they are,
pointing to
down
it.
here,
Scan
the
that
QR
or
code.
put in the web address if
you're
you're at
already,
a laptop. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our second guest. Our second guest is Fiona.
Hello, Fiona. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me.
So tell us, Fiona, what do you do? What's your job?
So I am a senior brand marketing manager for Visit Scotland. I work within our global marketing team on marketing campaigns to encourage people from different countries to come to Scotland for their holiday.
Brilliant. And I imagine that nowadays digital marketing must be like a big part of all these marketing campaigns.
Absolutely, that's right. We do still use some traditional methods, but yes, digital marketing is very much the focus of what we do.
So let's fill out your travel profile now. I feel like I'm at one of these, immigration offices, and I'm going to take down your details here. So, what is your favourite mode of travel?
So I also love travelling by train because you usually end up right in the heart of the city or where it is that you're trying to go to. Plus, I'm not very good at travelling light, and there's no baggage restrictions on trains, which is quite useful.
Excellent, brilliant. Yeah, I agree with that as well. What about any secret travel hacks that you have? Do you have a favourite app, website, or a tool or a gadget that you always use when you're travelling?
Yeah, I think working for Visit Scotland, I always find myself checking out wherever I'm going, local tourism organisations' channels, which their social accounts and websites are usually a great indication of things to do. So I always get great tips there.
Brilliant. So checking out their social media channels and seeing, what they're up to. Is there a particular one that you look at and you think, oh, I really like what they're doing in Barbados or wherever else?
Yeah, absolutely. We always check out what's happening around the other destinations. New Zealand's always got some great marketing campaigns and different top tips for how they share what they're doing. So yeah, lots of interesting things to do. My travel list just grows and grows every time I go in.
So it sounds like you've got a good excuse to be on social media as part of your job then. You could just, I'm just having a look on TikTok for the next half hour.
I'll research.
So my final question for your travel profile is there anywhere that you visited as a teenager that you'd like to go back to?
I would love to go back to the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. They are some of the most beautiful islands I've ever seen. White sand beaches and really friendly locals. And I actually did the Loganair flight from Glasgow where the plane lands on the beach in the Isle of Barra, which was an incredible experience.
Brilliant. So you'd like to do that again then?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I know that Daniel has got a few more questions that have come in as well. I'll pass you over to Daniel.
Yeah, so this session today is all about travel and tourism. So just like we asked Joshua, we're going to ask you, what is it that makes this sector so great to work in?
I think working in the travel and tourism industry, it's such a fun industry to work in. Everyone loves traveling, and it's really great to be a part of helping those experiences happen for people. For me, I love my job. I've worked at Visit Scotland for nearly 10 years and couldn't ask for anything better to market than our brilliant wee country. There's so much to promote in Scotland. We've got 8 unique cities, we've got highlands and islands and everything in between. So it's a really exciting industry to be part of.
Super. There's a question that's come in from Abby, and Abby's asked, like, why did you choose marketing as the area to go into? Like, did you decide you wanted to work in travel and tourism and then marketing seemed natural, or was marketing your interest and then you kind of found a place in tourism?
Yeah, do you know what? I've always been interested in travel and I love visiting new places, always planning my next trip. And when I was at university, during the summer breaks, I spent a lot of time travelling. I went to Australia and New Zealand and I worked out in Orlando at Walt Disney World. And I think these experiences made me want to work in the travel industry. I think probably the subjects I chose at school led to wanting to work in marketing. I remember choosing business management in my 6th year and I was really interested in the marketing side. So yeah, I think a combination of both.
What do you think are the top skills that someone would need if they wanted to do a job similar to yours? They were really interested in marketing, maybe digital marketing in particular. What do you think the top skills that are useful are?
In digital marketing, what I would say is things are constantly changing and updating, so it's good to keep up to date. There's lots of great LinkedIn learning courses available to upskill, and social media is obviously huge. The social media channels, TikTok, Instagram, etc., are really good at sharing what's new and what's coming up on their own advertising pages. But I would say, as well as those technical skills that are always updating, some other skills like communication are also key when working with other people to deliver these marketing campaigns.
Yeah, I suppose you don't want to just have, the solid technical skills. You might, you're going to need to have to deal with other people. And especially if you're trying to convince them to do something or go on holiday or potentially spend a lot of money on something like that. I guess you need to know about what is it that makes people want to come to Scotland, or what would be, how would you position that offer to them as well? So I can see how both those things would need to work together.
That's it, exactly. It's a lot of problem solving and everything that we do is based on data and insights. So it's a lot of analytical skills as well that you can make use of.
Oh, that's it. Tell us a wee bit more about those data and analytical skills. So how do you use them as part of your job?
Yeah, so we're actually lucky at Visit Scotland that we've got an insights team who are constantly running different reports and looking to source data from different people. So they go out and do studies with visitors that have come to the country and just to find out more information about what it is they're looking for when they're here, how has their experience been, what sources of information did they use in order to plan their trip. And it allows us to target more effectively, and we know what they're looking for. And similarly with the markets that we target, we look at where are our visitors coming from to Scotland, what the visitor volume is from each country and what they're spending when they're here. And then we look at prioritising our budgets for the people that we know or the markets that we know are coming to Scotland.
So it seems like numeracy then, as well as another interesting part or another good skill to have to work in this sector.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely lots of skills that go into the day-to-day, that not just digital marketing, but a lot of the skills that you learn from school and university that you might not realise that you're building on, but it's all very relevant for the job.
Is there a trend in Scotland at the moment? Is there a particular part of Scotland that's shot up in terms of interest, or is it the usual locations? I just wonder if there's a hot spot that we don't realise that actually is getting a lot of visitors at the moment.
Yeah, do you know what? I think we're really lucky in Scotland that there's so many unique experiences across the country, and that's a part of our job at Visit Scotland is to make sure that we're promoting that regional spread across Scotland. So if someone, the Highlands and Islands are obviously a big draw for Scotland, and I guess it's our job to make sure that we're showcasing the breadth of things there is to do across the various regions. So we're lucky that it's quite an easy job from that perspective, because we've got all these great experiences in different parts. And things like, we've got different ways of doing that. One of the big hooks at the moment is around film and TV, and people wanting to come to Scotland and see locations that have been in different films or TV locations, which is great. It's an exciting one to be part of.
Yeah, I knew that parts of the Batman were filmed in Glasgow, and I remember going to see that in the cinema and waiting for like that big shot of Glasgow, and I had to wait 2 hours and 59 minutes before I saw that shot that I wanted to see. And yeah, and even like there was a BBC Games show as well that was set in a palace or a castle in Scotland, and I remember sitting thinking there's going to be so many people who are just going to be like, where is the traitor's house? Where am I going to go to visit at some point? So I can imagine film and TV having an impact on that as well.
Absolutely.
Daniel, have you seen any more questions come in from people?
Yeah, I've been having a wee look at the list of questions, and there's a question here from Thea, who's asked, why would I use Visit Scotland? So I'm imagining that but I'm imagining probably quite a few people watching maybe haven't seen a huge amount of Visit Scotland advertising, because we're already inside Scotland, and I suspect a lot of what Visit Scotland does is about attracting more people. But what's the main kind of business of Visit Scotland? Is the ultimate goal to bring more people to Scotland, or is it about highlighting particular sectors?
Oops.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason you might not have seen too much in terms of advertising from ourselves, because mostly of what we do is promote markets to try and get them to come to Scotland. So if you're already in Scotland, you might not have seen as much, but very much we're still a resource for you to use. If there's whatever you're from, Scotland's a relatively compact country, but as I said earlier, we've got so much to offer. So there's probably a lot of things on your doorstep that you haven't done, or in nearby regions. So Visit Scotland is a great source of information on things to do in different places and how you get there. And we've got lots of different itineraries and videos. So if you don't follow on our social channels, our social media team are brilliant at keeping everyone up to date and sharing really unique angles of Scotland through the different images that people share. So users share images with us and we repost them. So if you don't follow already, I would recommend doing so and getting out and enjoying the country.
I always use Visit
Fiona.
Scotland's videos whenever I'm trying to show a friend from maybe abroad what my area is like or something, because they always make everything look really nice. And it's always very nicely shot, and it highlights a lot of the really positive and visually impressive things that surround us that we maybe don't notice or appreciate on a day-to-day level. It's all really nice content that the Visit Scotland makes.
I've got some more questions here, Daniel, that I'm going to put forward. Yeah, so this one is from someone else called Daniel, but it's not our Daniel. And this is another quite direct question, but the question is, how much money would someone earn doing a job like yours? But I think the real question is here then is, is working in the travel sector, is working in this area a good job that people might want to consider doing?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's about looking at the whole package of something as well. If it's a career that you're interested in and you're going to enjoy, I think that's what everyone wants to have in life. It makes going to work enjoyable and fun, and part of the experience. And you can certainly make good money as well doing what you like doing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair answer. Exactly, if you love the job and you're getting paid to do it and you want to be part of it, then yeah, Daniel, that's a good idea as well. I've got another question here from, let me just check. This one's from Jay. So Jay from Falkirk High School is asking, what about getting into careers with Visit Scotland? Is there a like if someone was maybe looking for a job in this area, how would they get started?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got on our website a vacancies section that's got regularly posts any vacancies that are available. So definitely keep an eye on there if you're interested in a career at Visit Scotland. We also have, as part of Visit Scotland network, we've got the information centres in various places, which is a really nice way to get involved and work potentially while you're still at university, to get experience in the tourism sector if it's something that you're interested in.
Brilliant. Daniel, should we ask Fiona some more questions about skills maybe as well?
Yeah. So there's a question here from George, who's at Moffat Academy, and George has asked, what course or courses did you do to get your job? So like maybe did you go to university or did you go to college? What was it that you focused or specialised in?
Yeah, so for me, I went to Strathclyde University in Glasgow to do a degree in marketing, which supported me in getting my role at Visit Scotland. At Strathclyde University, at that point, when I applied for my degree, it was a business degree, which allowed me to pick 4 subjects in my first year and then specialise in, I chose marketing, but it could be any of the 4 subjects that you choose from first year. I then specialised in marketing for my honours degree, so it was a 4-year course.
I think it's great that you've got that flexibility.
I was going to say, Fiona, as well, you mentioned, I think, that you studied, did you study a tourism or travel course when you were at school? I think you mentioned something like you chose it as a subject. It
was actually in my 6th year at school, I picked business management, which I really enjoyed. And I think that's what made me want to study marketing, because prior to that at school, I hadn't really had any business experience. So that's what made me want to choose that as an option. And yeah, travel and tourism would have been an option at uni as well, but I actually didn't do that. It was marketing that I specifically focused on, and then just from my interest in travel and tourism, ended up going into that field.
Okay. Daniel, I'm just going to look through some more questions. There've been really good questions that have been sent in here. Have you got any, Daniel, you want to?
Yeah. So there's a question here from Blair, who's at West Lothian College. And Blair's asked, do you need university qualifications in order to get into the industry?
I mean, that's the route that I took, but certainly I don't think it's 100% necessary, because there's so many different options within the travel and tourism industry. There's some companies that will offer training schemes where you can learn on the job and get different experience while you're actually in the role. So while that's the route I took, definitely not the only option.
Brilliant. I've got a question, Daniel, from
go for it.
Liliana. So Liliana is asking, have you always wanted a job in this area, or was it just marketing in general you were interested in and then moved into sort of this area?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I was always interested in marketing first, but I think at the state for a job, but at the same time I had that interest in travel from a personal level. And whenever I finished university, I went over and worked in Orlando for Walt Disney World for a year. And I think actually when I was there, I was promoting Scotland in a different way. It was working in their Epcot theme park at the UK themed section, so promoting Scotland to visitors to the park. And I think when I came home from that, I thought I actually really enjoyed doing that and representing Scotland. So Visit Scotland's obviously a different way of doing that, but tying in the marketing side.
I think I've seen some of the cast members at Disney, sometimes they get to wear like a badge or something with their country on it. Did you get to have a Scottish flag? Was that an option?
That's right, yes. I had my name and where I'm from, Scotland, which was great. Nice to another great experience.
I bet every guest you met told you they were Scottish as well, and they had connections to back home too.
Absolutely, that's a big hook for the US audience, that ancestry and the heritage and history of Scotland. So always a nice talking point.
Daniel, we've got. Shall we bring back Joshua for a couple of final questions, and we'll get everyone talking together?
Yeah, let's bring Joshua back for a few minutes. So welcome back, Joshua.
There we are. We're all here now. So what we're going to do is I've got a question for you related to digital skills as well and tech skills. So we'll go for both of you here. We'll start with Joshua first and then go on to Fiona. The question is, if you could learn a new digital skill that might help you in your current job right now, something that you don't know as much just now, or you'd like to get better at it, what would it be? So going to Joshua first.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that I think about quite a lot because within the community we have itself, we have to try and make a lot of our own tech tools ourselves. So I've been playing around with no-code tools and things like that to build websites and platforms. But the one that I would learn is probably the design of user experience and user experience research. So understanding the ways that people interact with digital tools and designing them to make it more accessible or more engaging or interesting.
Great answers, thank you. And Fiona, same question for you. If you could learn a new digital skill that you maybe didn't know before, what would you want to learn more about?
We've actually just launched an updated website at Visit Scotland, and I think the web development and coding side of things would be a great skill to develop given how important the digital world is now.
Brilliant. So there you go then. So these are both good skills to add that people maybe need more of in the travel and tourism sector as well.
Just on that.
Similar.
Oh, sorry, they really do. Skyscanner in Scotland, Travel Perk in Scotland, and a lot of companies in London are hiring a lot of user research and user interaction people, as well as everything Fiona's just said as well. So there's a lot of jobs available at the moment for these type of roles.
I have a slightly similar question to you just asked there, Craig, but rather than like a skill to learn now for your job, is there something that you wish that you had known back when you started your career working in travel or tech? Like, is there something that you're just like, oh, I wish I knew that 5 years ago? Fiona, let's go to you first.
I would probably say just that every day is a school day, really. Once you're finished school and uni, I think I probably thought that was it. But everything is constantly updating and changing in the digital world. So it's really important to keep learning and developing throughout your career. And I think that's something that I've realised throughout my career at Visit Scotland. It's the constant learning.
And how about you, Josh?
Yeah, I think if I was to starting my career again, I would definitely be interested in learning a little bit more coding a bit earlier on. So understanding the different sort of languages to use, just more than anything. But then thinking about the future of tourism and hospitality as well, just because technology is just going to be much more and more involved all the time. So one of the bits of work we've done is looking at some of the staff shortages in hotels and restaurants. And one of the ways that we see the future might be people interacting with more robots or using more data to better plan your business. So I think I would have liked, when I started my career in travel and tourism, to have understood the technology development process a little bit more. But I think going forward as well, I'd be keen to learn more about how some of the technology of the future is going to change the sector, including things like robots and robotics.
So I've got one more question that I want to put to you, and this is your chance to sort of like break a stereotype or dispel a myth, because I want to know, like, what would you tell someone, what is the misconception that people might have of working in the travel and tourism sector? What do people maybe think it's going to be like, and what is the reality? So this is your chance to sort of, like, if people always think it's going to be like one way, but actually it's more like this. So yeah, that's either of you to begin with. We can chat about it.
I would probably say from the marketing side, a common myth is probably that you need to be really creative to work in marketing. I think what I mentioned earlier about, it's obviously great to be creative, but for some of the roles will obviously be an essential part of it. But everything we do is really based on data and insights. So there's a lot of that analytical work that happens and different roles that cater for them. So if it's something that you don't necessarily need to have that creativeness to go into marketing if it's still an area of interest.
Do you know, that's a really good example of a myth busting moment there as well, isn't it? Because people do maybe think, oh, marketing is, creative skills are exactly what you need, but actually that's part of it. But as you say, like, those other things, that's brilliant. Joshua, do you have anything you want to break or?
Yeah, well, I think it's often the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry is one of the biggest industries in the world when it comes to the amount of people employed in it. It's huge, all the way from airports, railway stations, attractions, hotels, restaurants. Every component is, it's really, really big industry, and often it's perceived as very much about service. So it may be seen as an industry for maybe young people to be waiters, waitresses, or working in sort of hotel receptions. And I think that the reality is there's a diversity of roles in all of those industries, all the way from technology management, and even by starting in some of those more customer service facing roles, you get to play around with technology and use it. And there's wonderful careers that you can have in a host of different ways. So I think that it's not an industry that you should just pop into and pop out. You can have a brilliant career in there, in technology or other really sophisticated parts of the world of work.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting. And thank you for joining us, Joshua and Fiona, this afternoon. It's been brilliant having you as guests on our Meet the Expert.
Yeah, that was a really interesting discussion, and I think there was lots of really good tips about travel at the start. But I think we had some really good discussions about, like ways into careers in different areas, and the fact that, I think that point you said at the end, Joshua, the travel and tourism area is much bigger than just working in a hotel or in a restaurant. There's lots of fascinating careers behind it, just like what Fiona does in marketing.
And thank you everyone who's been watching for taking part. Daniel, I've seen some pictures of classes enjoying it, asking questions as well. So thank you for everyone who's done that as well.
We're on YouTube today, Craig. I think it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't say to subscribe to our channel, because if you subscribe to our channel, you'll get notified whenever we're going to be running more sessions just like this one, and you'll get updated about all our latest videos too. But for now, it's bye from Joshua and Fiona. It's bye from Craig.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And it's bye from me as well. We'll see you next time.